My child, I need you to stop what you are doing right now and listen. Not because this message happened to appear in front of you, not because you scrolled past it by chance, and not because the timing was coincidental. I place this in your path today because there is something I have been waiting to speak over you. Something that could not be delayed any longer. Something that touches the very core of the wound you have been carrying in silence. You have been walking around with a question that you have not been able to say out loud, a question that plays on a loop when the room gets quiet and the distractions fall away. The question sounds something like this. If I am who you say I am, then why did they treat me like I was nothing, my child? I hear that question. I have heard every version of it, every hour of the night you rehearsed it. Every morning you woke up and felt the ache before you even remembered why. I have been present in all of it, and today I am going to answer you. What happened to you was not a verdict. It was not a review of your worth, a final ruling on your value, or a reflection of how much light you carry. The person who discarded you did not have the authority to define you, no matter how much it felt like they did in that moment. Authority requires knowledge, and they did not truly know you. They saw the surface of something they were never equipped to understand. And here is the part that I want to plant deep in your spirit today. The part that will change the way you look at that season of your life forever. The one who chose to walk away from you did not understand what they were holding, but I did. Heaven did, and someone else did too. Someone who was watching that moment with a very different kind of fury than you would expect. Type I was not the problem. I was the prize. My child, let me take you back before the pain becomes the whole story. Let me show you what was happening from a vantage point you could not see from where you were standing. When you were chosen by me, when I formed you and set you apart before a single day of your life had been written, something was declared over you that cannot be undone by any human decision. You were made with a capacity for love, for resilience, for depth, for purpose, that most people you encounter will not be able to fully hold. This is not arrogance, this is architecture. I built you with a particular design, and not every space can receive that design. A cornerstone is not defective because it does not fit in a space designed for something smaller. A rare gemstone is not flawed because someone who only values cheap stones does not know what to do with it. The discard was not about your deficiency, it was about their limitation, and I want you to carry that distinction with you from this day forward, not as superiority, not as bitterness, but as clarity. When they turned away from you, when they treated you as though you were replaceable, dispensable, as though what you offered was ordinary and your absence would cost them nothing, you felt something collapse inside you. I know. I was there when it happened. I watched you try to make sense of it, watched you replay the moments searching for the place where you went wrong, watched you take apart your own worth trying to find the crack that would explain why someone who said they valued you could set you aside the way they did. And I want you to know that the searching itself, the desperate need to find the flaw in yourself that caused the rejection, that was not wisdom. That was the wound speaking. That was not discernment. That was damage. You were not trying to understand the situation. You were trying to take the blame for it so that the pain would have somewhere to live. My child, put it down. The fault does not belong in you. Romans 5:3-4 says this, "We also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope." What you were walking through in that season was not punishment. It was production. Something was being built in you through the very fire of what they put you through, and that something could not have been built any other way. I do not waste pain. I do not allow my children to walk through darkness without pulling something out of that darkness that serves the purpose I have placed over their lives. Every moment you sat in confusion, every morning you had to choose to get up when everything in you wanted to stay down, every conversation you had with yourself in the mirror trying to remember who you were, that was not wasted. That was work, necessary, sacred, irreplaceable work. My child, I also want you to know something about the specific nature of the wound you experienced, because not all rejection is the same, and yours was not ordinary. What you experienced was not the absence of feeling. It was the presence of something real being dismissed. You loved genuinely, you showed up fully. You brought what you actually had, not a performance, not a strategy, not a curated version of yourself designed to be appealing, but the actual substance of who you are, and it was met with a response that treated it as insufficient. That is a particular kind of wound, one that does not ask, was I not good enough, but instead asks the far more devastating question, is the real me not enough? And that question, if it is not addressed at the root, becomes a belief that you carry into every room you enter afterward. It becomes the lens through which you read every relationship, every connection, every moment of potential intimacy. It says, show them the real you and they will leave. My beloved, that lie must be dismantled today. The real you was not rejected because it was lacking. The real you was simply placed in front of someone who did not have the capacity, the history, the formation, or the design to receive it. The failure was not in what you offered. The failure was in the vessel that could not hold it. Type, I carry more than most people know how to hold. Let me tell you something that the ancient record of my people confirms over and over again. The pattern of rejection before elevation is not a glitch in the story. It is the story. Joseph was thrown into a pit by his own brothers, the people who should have been his safest place, and sold as though his life had a price tag that strangers could pay. He did not just experience rejection. He experienced betrayal from the people whose love he had every right to expect. And yet, in Genesis 50-20, when the full arc had been revealed, he could look at those same brothers and say, you intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. The elevation was not despite the rejection. The elevation was made possible by it, because what they meant as an ending, I was already designing as a beginning. And what is true in Joseph's story is true in yours. Elijah stood in the wilderness in 1 Kings 19 feeling utterly alone, utterly finished, utterly convinced that the chapter of his purpose had closed. He had just done something extraordinary in my name, had just stood with fire and faith against forces that should have overwhelmed him, and then a single voice of threat sent him running into the desert to collapse under a tree and ask to die. And what did I do? I did not lecture him. I did not correct him. I sent an angel to touch him, to feed him, to let him rest. And then I said, get up and eat, because the journey is too great for you, my child. I did not remove Elijah from the wilderness because he had failed. I removed him because I was protecting him from what was waiting in the place he had just left. The removal felt like loss. It was provision. The isolation felt like abandonment. It was preparation. And when Peter was released from prison in Acts 12, when those chains fell from his hands and the door opened before him, the first thing Scripture notes is that a movement followed his freedom. Freedom moves. Freedom creates momentum. And when I released you from the person who was holding your destiny back, that was not me allowing loss. That was me opening the door. Type heaven saw everything they never gave me credit for. My child, here is something I want you to understand about the light you carry, because it is essential to understanding why the rejection happened the way it did. There are people in this world who encounter genuine light and are drawn to it. They can hold it, honor it, allow it to illuminate their own lives without needing to diminish it. And then there are people who encounter genuine light and feel threatened by it. Not because the light has done anything wrong, not because the light is too bright or too aggressive, but because the light, simply by being what it is, exposes what is in them that does not match. When a person who is carrying unaddressed darkness encounters someone who is walking in genuine clarity, something in them reacts, and that reaction does not always look like hostility at first. Sometimes it looks like pursuit. Sometimes it looks like love. Sometimes it looks like a connection so intense that you were certain, absolutely certain, that you had found something rare, and you had found a mirror, not a match. They were drawn to your light because they needed it. But needing light is not the same as being capable of honoring it. And when the weight of what you carried, the depth, the integrity, the expectation of something real became more than they could sustain, they chose to walk away rather than rise. That was not your failure. That was their ceiling. Malachi 3:3 speaks of the refiner who sits beside the fire when silver is being purified. Notice that he does not throw the silver in and walk away. He sits, he watches. The fire is not left unattended, and the purpose of the fire is not destruction. It is the removal of what does not belong, the purging of impurities that would compromise the silver's value. its purity, its capacity to reflect. You have been in that fire, my beloved, and I have been sitting beside it, not because you were flawed in ways that needed burning, but because I was preparing you to carry something that requires purity, requires clarity, requires a depth of integrity that can only be forged by going through what you have gone through and coming out still yourself. The fire of rejection does something specific that no other process can replicate. It removes, with precision, the layers of performance you had built up around yourself. The versions of you that were trying to be enough for someone who was not capable of recognizing enough. The habits of minimizing yourself to make space for someone else's comfort. The way you had learned to soften your own certainty so that the person beside you would not feel challenged by it. All of that, my beloved, was burning in the fire. And what could not burn, what survived every layer of that heat, that is the real you. That is the you I have been building toward. That is the you that the next chapter of your life requires. Not the performed version, not the accommodated version, not the version that had learned to make themselves smaller to fit. The full version, the whole version, the one that was there before the compromise, and that has been waiting underneath everything, to walk forward without apology. And there is something else the fire produces that I want to name directly: authority. My child, the people who carry the deepest authority in my kingdom are never the ones who have had the easiest path. They are the ones who walked through what would have broken most people and came out not bitter, but believing. What you are carrying now, having walked through this rejection, having chosen to remain open to me even in the confusion of it, having refused to let the wound become the whole of your identity, that is authority. It is the quiet, unshakable authority of someone who has been tested and has not been destroyed. And that authority walks with you into everything that comes next. I was being formed for something they could not carry. Now I want to talk to you about something that most people miss when they are sitting in the ashes of a rejection. Because most people, when they imagine what happened in the spiritual realm, when someone chose to walk away from them, they imagine the adversary celebrating. They imagine darkness rejoicing at the sight of my child in pain, in confusion, in doubt. And I need to correct that picture entirely. My child, the adversary was not celebrating when you were rejected. He was furious. And this is not a small detail. This is central to understanding what that season actually was and what it means for what is coming. The enemy knows something about you that the person who discarded you did not know. Something that I have known since before you were formed. He knows your assignment. He knows the scope of what you carry. He knows what happens when someone like you is fully aligned, fully healed, fully positioned in the purpose I designed you for. And the last thing he wanted was for you to be released from a situation that was keeping you small, keeping you distracted, keeping you emotionally consumed with someone who could not carry the weight of your destiny alongside them. The rejection that felt like defeat, that was his greatest tactical loss. He was not throwing a celebration the day they walked away from you. He was sounding an alarm, because a discarded prize that finally understands its worth is far more dangerous to his plans than a prize that stays locked in a box, convinced by someone else's rejection that it has no value. Think about what he had going for him while you were in that relationship, in that dynamic, in that season of pouring yourself into someone who was not built to receive you. You were distracted, you were depleted, you were spending your faith, your energy, your emotional capacity, your time on trying to make something work that I had never designed to work. And while you were there, while you were focused on being enough for someone who was never going to be satisfied, you were not available for the assignment that was waiting. You were not ready to receive the doors I was preparing to open. You were not in position, and the adversary was comfortable with that arrangement. The discard ended it. The discard removed you from the distraction. The discard, as painful as it was, as disorienting as it was the moment his hold on your capacity to fulfill your purpose was broken. That is why he was furious. Not because you were hurt, but because you were free. My child, I want you to sit with what that fury means, because it carries more weight than you may have recognized. The adversary does not waste fury on people who are not significant threats to his plans. He does not sound alarms over lives that are not positioned to disrupt what he has been building. His fury was intelligence. His fury was a signal, not about what you had lost, but about what you were about to gain. When a soldier crosses into enemy territory and the alarm sounds, it is not because the soldier is unwelcome. It is because the soldier is dangerous. You crossed a threshold the day you were released from what was holding you, and the alarm that sounded in the enemy's camp was his acknowledgement of exactly how dangerous you are when you are unencumbered, when you are free, when you are walking in alignment with the purpose I placed over you before the foundation of the world. Consider also that the enemy's fury reveals something about the person who discarded you that you may not have considered. The one who walked away from you was not making a purely neutral decision. Something was influencing that choice. Something beyond the surface reasons they gave, beyond the justifications and the rationalizations they offered. There was a spirit of deception at work, whispering to them that something lesser was better than what they had, that the cost of choosing you was too high, that staying would require a growth they were not prepared to commit to. The adversary was not neutral in that situation. He was active. He was working on the inside of the one who chose to leave, and this does not excuse them. It does not remove their responsibility for the choice they made, but it does remove from you the burden of believing that the rejection was a purely honest reflection of your worth. It was a corrupted signal. It was influenced, and it produced in them a decision that served his purposes far more than it served theirs. Type, I release the weight of what they chose. Type, they made their choice, and I am making mine. My child, let me now speak directly about what the one who discarded you set in motion, because I do not want you to carry any illusion that the law of sowing and reaping is not at work. I know that in the early days after the rejection, you may have wanted this moment. You may have rehearsed it in your mind, imagining what justice would look like, imagining the moment they would understand what they had given away. And then perhaps the bitterness of wanting justice began to feel like its own kind of prison. And you tried to stop wanting it, tried to release it, tried to take the higher road. My child, I want to tell you something important. You do not have to manufacture indifference to prove you have healed. You are allowed to believe in justice. You are simply not the one who has to carry it. That is my responsibility, and I do not forget it. It is always at work. This is not about me punishing them. This is about the way I constructed reality itself, the way the moral fabric of existence operates, and nothing and no one is exempt from it. Galatians 6-7 says clearly, do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. They sowed dismissal of something precious. They sowed the decision to treat something of genuine worth as if it were disposable, and that seed does not disappear into the ground without producing a harvest. It grows, it matures, it returns. Psalm 7:15-16 speaks with striking clarity about this pattern. Whoever digs a hole and scoops it out falls into the pit they have made. The trouble they cause recoils on them. Their violence comes down on their own head. The trap that was set, the dynamic of diminishment, the choice to make you feel small so that they could feel larger, that trap does not only catch you, the momentum of it follows its creator. The person who chose to discard you will not spend the rest of their life untouched by that decision. They will spend time looking for in someone else what they chose to walk away from in you, and they will find that the depth, the loyalty, the capacity for love that you offered cannot be easily replicated. They will understand, eventually, what it cost them. Not because I will take from them, but because Romans 12-19 has already settled this. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, "It is mine to avenge, I will repay," says the Lord. The repayment is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it is simply the long absence of something they could have had and chose to release. There is also a pattern in Scripture that runs like a thread through generations. Esau sold his birthright for a single meal. In the moment, the transaction seemed reasonable. He was hungry. The bowl was right there, the future felt abstract, and he chose the immediate comfort over the lasting inheritance. The person who discarded you was making the same kind of trade. They chose what was comfortable over what was lasting. They chose what required less from them over what would have required them to grow, to be accountable, to actually rise. They chose a lesser thing, and like Esau, who later wept and found that the blessing could not be recalled, they will come to understand the weight of what they exchanged. Saul had David in his presence, a man anointed with the very Spirit of God. And instead of recognizing what was standing beside him, he grew threatened, grew bitter, and spent years trying to destroy what he should have been protecting. And while Saul chased his own reflection in a rivalry he invented, David was refined. The one who was discarded was being prepared. And when the time came, the kingdom passed to the one who had been forged in the wilderness. My daughter, I say this to you now at this particular moment because this is a moment you need to hear it. The rejection was not your ending. It was the beginning of something the one who left you will never be able to participate in. Not because I barred them, but because they disqualified themselves through the choice they made. And I want you to release them from the responsibility of having understood what they were doing. Not to excuse them from accountability, but to free yourself from the expectation that they will one day see it the way you see it. Some people will go their entire lives without fully comprehending the weight of what they set aside when they set you aside. The understanding may come quietly, in the dark hours of a future season, when they reach for what is no longer there and find the absence of it more significant than they had anticipated. Or it may come in ways I have arranged that you will never witness. But either way, the recognition is not required for your healing, and it is not required for your restoration. You do not need them to understand what they threw away in order to walk fully into what is waiting for you. Now let me speak about the restoration that is already in motion, because I do not want you focused only on what was lost. I want your eyes on what is coming, and I want you to recognize it when it arrives. Because sometimes the signs of restoration are so quiet, so understated, that my children miss them while they are still waiting for something loud. The first sign is the return of peace that you cannot explain. Philippians 4:7 describes it as the peace of God which transcends all understanding. This is not the peace of resolution, not the peace of everything being figured out, but a peace that settles in you before the situation changes, before the answers arrive, before anything in your external circumstances shifts. If you have been feeling that in moments, a settling, a quiet, a stillness that shows up when nothing around you has changed, that is a sign. I am restoring your foundation before I rebuild the rest of it. The peace is not the sign that things are fine. The peace is the sign that I am near and that what is coming is being secured. The second sign is the slow, almost imperceptible return of desire. After rejection, desire often goes into hiding. The part of you that used to hope, that used to imagine what could be, that used to lean toward the future with expectation, that part tends to pull back behind the wound to protect itself. And when it begins to emerge again, when you find yourself thinking forward again instead of only backward, when you catch yourself imagining good things rather than only rehearsing the pain, that is a sign. Desire is returning because I am making space for it to be met. The wanting that is waking up in you is not foolish. It is prophetic. It is waking up because something is coming that is worth waking up for. The third sign is the pruning of relationships that no longer align. You may have noticed in this season that certain connections have quietly faded, that people you once spent significant energy maintaining have drifted, or that some relationships have ended in ways that felt like additional loss. My child, look more carefully. What I am removing from your orbit in this season is being removed with intention. The circle that remains when I am finished is the circle that can hold the weight of what is coming. Not every connection was designed to carry you into the next chapter. Some were meant only for a season, and the clearing of the old is always the preparation for the new. I feel the shift even when I cannot explain it. The fourth sign is the reopening of gifts that had gone quiet. There are things you used to do, ways you used to create or express or contribute, that the weight of the rejection buried. And if you have begun to feel the stirring of those things again, if something is waking up in you creatively, spiritually, in terms of purpose and capacity, do not dismiss that as wishful thinking. I am restoring what was suppressed by the weight you were carrying. Matthew 25:21 says, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things." The gifts that feel like they are waking up because I am preparing to entrust you with a larger territory, and you need them functioning and available for what I am about to place in your hands. The fifth sign is the arising of a deeper hunger for what is real. You may have noticed that the things that used to satisfy in shallow ways no longer satisfy, that the distractions that used to quiet the deeper parts of you no longer quiet them, that you are hungering for depth, for authenticity, for connection that actually sees you, for purpose that feels aligned with something greater than circumstance. That hunger is not emptiness. That hunger is readiness. It is the spiritual appetite of someone who is about to be fed. Isaiah 40:31 says, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." The soaring does not happen without the waiting, but the waiting that produces it is not passive, it is active. It is the deepening of hunger before the feast. Type, "I am not waiting to be chosen. I was already chosen, my child. Let me now speak about who you are becoming through this, because the person who will walk into the next chapter of your life is not the same person who entered this one. And that is not a small thing. That is everything. The you that walks forward from this place has been tested, has been proven, has been refined through something that most people will not understand from the outside, but that I know in full. You know things now that you could not have known without going through this. You know the difference between someone who wants you and someone who can actually receive you. You know what it feels like to pour into something that cannot hold what you offer. And that knowledge will protect you in ways that no external warning ever could. You know your own limits, your own worth, your own non-negotiables, with a clarity that only the fire of experience can produce. You are becoming someone who does not require external validation to know their worth. And that is rare. Most people spend their entire lives needing someone else's approval to feel solid in themselves. What was done to you was painful. But one of the things it produced, one of the things I was watching be formed in you through the fire, is a foundation in identity that is not built on what someone else says about you. You are learning, right now, in this very season, to stand on what I have said about you. And that foundation, my beloved, is the only foundation that will hold the weight of what is coming. Everything I am preparing to bring into your life requires that you are already standing on solid ground. The groundwork is the greatest gift this season has given you, even though it did not feel like a gift while it was being laid. You are also becoming someone who is capable of a deeper quality of love than you were before. This might seem counterintuitive. You might think that rejection would harden you, would make you less capable of loving freely, would seal off the parts of you that were hurt so that they could never be hurt again. And for a season that sealing happened, but it was not permanent. It was protective. And what is emerging on the other side of it is a love that is wiser, more discerning, more grounded, more patient, and ultimately more powerful than what you were offering before. You loved with everything you had in that previous season, and now I am expanding your capacity. I am deepening the wells. What you will be able to offer in the next chapter, what you will bring into the relationship that is coming toward you, will be more than what you have ever given. Not because you will try harder, but because you have been shaped into someone who carries more. The love that is coming out of this season of yours, beloved, is the kind of love that has been tested and proven. That kind of love does not break at the first sign of difficulty. It knows how to stay when staying matters. And the person who is coming toward you is going to need exactly that. My child, I want you to notice something about the arc I am describing. It is not the arc of someone who was broken and put back together. It is the arc of someone who was refined and elevated. There is a difference that is essential to understand. Being broken and put back together implies the original shape is the goal, that the point is to get back to where you were before the damage happened. But refinement does not restore the original. It produces something that did not exist before the fire. The silver that comes out of the refiner's fire is not the same silver that went in. It is purer, it is more valuable. It reflects more clearly. It was always silver, but what it is now is more fully and undeniably silver than it ever was before. You are not going back to who you were. You cannot, and you would not want to if you understood what has been produced in you. You are walking forward into a version of yourself that the rejection, as painful as it was, had a necessary hand in creating. There is someone coming toward you who has been made to fit the life you are building, not the life you left behind. Genesis 24 tells the story of Abraham sending his servant to find a wife for his son Isaac. Not just anyone, but someone specifically prepared, specifically appointed, specifically led to the right well at the right hour. That story is not just history. It is a pattern I established intentionally. I prepare specific people for specific people. I do not match at random. I move in sequence, in alignment, in timing that is far more precise than anything human strategy could achieve. And what I am aligning toward you, in the season that is now opening, is something that was not available in the season you just left. It was being prepared while you were being prepared. And when the time is right, not a day early and not a moment late, I will bring it to the well. Romans 8:28 closes the case on this entire arc. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. All things, the rejection, the confusion, the nights that felt too long, the questions that had no answers, the moments you were certain the wound would never close. All of it was working. I was working in all of it, not despite it, but through it, weaving what appeared to be damage into the design of something beautiful that you have not yet seen in full, but that I am already looking at with satisfaction. Type, I am walking into what was prepared for me. Press the subscribe button below, not for a channel, but to remain in this flow of what I am speaking over you in this season. My child, every message that is released here is prepared with you in mind. I know where you are. I know what questions you are carrying. I know what you need to hear before you know you need to hear it. What I am releasing in the days ahead is already prepared and waiting, positioned for the exact moments in your journey when you will need it most. Stay close, beloved. Stay connected to this stream. What is coming is not something you will want to miss, and I do not want you to miss it either. Press subscribe and remain in what I am speaking over you. There is someone on your heart right now, someone who is sitting in the exact wound this message is pulling you out of. Someone who is in the thick of the questioning, the ache, the confusion of feeling discarded by someone they loved. My child, if you have been moved by what I have spoken here today, if something in you has shifted, if a weight has lifted that you have been carrying for longer than you want to admit, then there is someone in your life who needs this message just as much as you needed it. To sow a seed today, to give toward this ministry, is to stand in intercession for that person. It is to say, I believe what you are speaking is real, and I want it to reach the person whose name I cannot get off my heart. I see every name, I know every person you carry, and when you sow in faith on behalf of someone who is still in the dark, the seed you plant in their name does not go unnoticed. I see it, I record it, I multiply it back to both of you. Visit the link in the description below, or scan the QR code on your screen to sow a seed today, not for a platform, not as a transaction, but as an act of faith on behalf of the one you love who needs to know, I have not forgotten them either. My child, let me speak now about what is coming next, not as vague promise, but as specific declaration, because you have earned the right to hear it plainly after all you have walked through. What is coming is not a version of what you lost. It is not the same story with a different face. It is something genuinely new, something I have been constructing in the hidden places while the season of stripping and refining was underway. The love that is coming toward you is not going to feel like walking on eggshells. It is not going to require you to shrink, to perform, to earn your place in the dynamic over and over again. It is going to feel like recognition, like being known, like someone who looks at you and sees the same thing I see when I look at you. Not a project, not a burden, not a phase, but a prize, a rare, irreplaceable, specifically designed person who was never meant to be discarded and who will never again be treated as though they were. The person who is coming for you is being prepared right now the same way you are being prepared, through their own fire, through their own refining, through the removal of what did not belong so that they can arrive in your life as someone who can actually hold what you carry and not be threatened by it, but honored by it. The opportunity that is coming is not going to look like anything you tried to force in the previous season. It is going to arrive with an ease, a naturalness, an alignment that will be unmistakable to you because you have walked through enough difficulty to recognize when something is flowing rather than straining. The doors I am about to open will not require you to beg to be let through. They will open before you with a welcome that confirms what I have been saying over you all along. And when you walk through them, you will understand every closed door that came before, not with bitterness at what was delayed, but with gratitude for the exactness of my timing, for the way I held back what was not ready, for the way I protected you from destinations that were never meant to be yours. My beloved, there is a place being prepared that is specifically sized for the fullness of who you are. Not a cramped space that requires you to fold yourself to fit, not a temporary shelter that only holds you through one season before asking you to leave. A place, a purpose, a relationship, a life that was designed around the specific dimensions of what I placed in you when I formed you before the foundation of the world. And you are walking toward it right now. Every step you take in faith, every morning you get up and choose to trust what you cannot yet see, every moment you release the bitterness and choose to remain open, you are covering ground. You are getting closer. The distance between where you are and where you are going is shrinking, and it is shrinking faster than it appears from where you are standing. There is someone in your life sitting exactly where you were before this message found you. Someone who is still in the wound, still in the questioning, still convinced that the rejection they experienced was a verdict on who they are. Send this to them. Not because you have the words to explain what it means, but because you do not need words. I will speak to them the way I have spoken to you today. Let them know I see them. Let them know I have not forgotten them. Let them know that what they are walking through is not the end of their story, but the preparation for what comes next. Forward this message, be the person for someone else that this message has been for you. Father, I come before you right now on behalf of the one who is listening to this prayer, and I bring them to you exactly as they are, not as they wish they were, not as they hope to be, but exactly as they are in this moment. Every wound, every unanswered question, every morning they woke up wondering if they were enough. Every night they replayed the moment they were discarded and tried to find the fault in themselves that caused it. I bring all of that before you, and I ask you to do what only you can do. I ask you to speak truth into the places where the lie has taken root. Speak to the places in them that have believed the rejection was a reflection of their worth. Speak to the places that have carried guilt for something they did not cause, blame for something that was never in their hands to control. Speak to the places that closed up after the pain and have been afraid to hope again. Let your voice reach those places. Let your truth go further than the wound. Let your love penetrate what the human love that failed them could not reach. I ask you to cleanse them of the bitterness they have been afraid to admit they carry. Not because bitterness is shameful, but because it is heavy, and they were not designed to carry it forever. Release them from the weight of it. Take from them the desire for the kind of revenge that would only keep them bound to the person who hurt them. Replace it with the confidence that you see what was done, that you have the record of every moment, that justice is already in motion, and that they do not need to carry the case themselves. Restore to them the sense of their own worth, the knowledge that they were the prize, not the problem. Restore to them the desire to hope, the willingness to open again, the courage to believe that what you have prepared for them on the other side of this is not a lesser thing but a greater one. Align them, Father, in this very moment, with the path that leads to what you have prepared. Remove the distractions. Remove the connections that are pulling them backward. Remove the inner agreements they have made with the lie that they are not worth choosing, and put in their hearts a certainty, quiet and deep and unshakable, that they were already chosen before any human being had the opportunity to discard them or receive them. You chose them first. Let them carry that. In your name, with faith that this prayer is heard and already being answered. Amen. If something shifted in you while you listened to this message, if a weight lifted, if a truth landed that you have been waiting to hear without knowing how much you were waiting, I want to invite you to honor that shift with an act of faith. Not because this ministry needs it, but because you do. To sow a seed today is to declare out loud, in the language of action, I believe what was spoken over me. I receive it. I trust the one who sent it, the person whose name is on your heart right now, the one you thought of during the prayer, the one you have been holding in secret. Your seed carries their name too. God sees it. God does not forget a seed sown in faith. It returns. It multiplies. It lands in places you did not plant it and produces harvests you did not plan. If you have been moved, visit the link in the description below or scan the QR code on your screen. Sow a seed not as a donation, not as a transaction, but as a declaration that you believe the God who spoke over you today is faithful to bring every promise to pass. Amen. You were not rejected because you were lacking. You were released because you were ready. The season you just walked through was not a sentence. It was a preparation. The person who discarded you did not see what they were holding, but I did. Heaven did, and even the one who opposed you saw it and was furious, because a prize that finally knows its worth is something he cannot stop. You are not starting over. You are starting from a different place entirely. Higher ground, harder won, more solidly yours than anything you stood on before. The fire did not consume you. It clarified you. What remains is the truest version of what I placed in you, refined and ready and beginning to understand the scope of what it was designed for. My beloved, the door did not close behind you. It opened in front of you, and everything that is walking through it, every version of blessing, love, purpose, alignment, restoration, and joy that I prepared for you before the foundation of the world, it is still coming. It was never canceled. It was never revoked. It was never lost. It was waiting, and it is walking toward you right now. Walk forward. You were the prize. You still are. And what is coming knows it.